We are back with the revelry in the tavern winding to a close, but before we get to Verkus's dead of night mystery activity, Kastan...
so dirty.
It's so dirty, yes.
You're the one who said midnight whatever.
I forget what I said, but yeah.
Same, but yeah, you're the one who started it.
Dirty deeds in the moonlight. Before we get to that,
the next Marvin Gaye song.
Kastan would realize that Eremos has gone up to his room, presumably to sleep. Rex would, in the few minutes since you went up to your room after playing your ocarina, would you have fallen immediately to sleep, or are you getting ready to bed? Getting ready for bed before Kastan comes to?
No, it would take me probably at least 10 minutes to doff the armor. I know it's magical, but that's like the rules is written. It's like 10 minutes to doff heavy armor, so I'd be getting ready for bed.
Yeah, and I figure after a nap too, you wouldn't be like in a super hurry, so that makes sense that he'd have time to finish those conversations with the tide and then head up to you. So
yeah, cool. Yeah, so I assume Kastan wouldn't even knock. He just walks into your room.
Is the door locked? Would you have locked your door, Rex?
No.
No. Okay, then he walks in.
If you had, I would have just face stepped right through it. Sounds like I need to talk to you.
What's that line in Civil War? Liz, we talked about this. Use the doorway. When it was open, I thought,
So I just come in and I'm like, Eremos, do you have a second? I need to talk to you.
Yeah, anything. Have a seat. There's a chair in the room. I'm sitting on the edge of my bed taking the armor off. Yeah.
Cool.
Sits on the floor.
I was thinking about doing something ridiculous, but I'll just take the stool. So I'll sit down and I'll just I'll look at you and be like, I understand that, I'm exhausted, but I think you're much more tired than even I am. And I'm concerned. Would you be willing to let me help you sleep?
Oh, absolutely. Any way that you can help me would be great. I mean, I'm not getting any more exhausted. I'm just not getting any less exhausted. It's like I'm just a perpetual state of exhaustion. I didn't sleep last night, just once. I'm
like
just
you hit your 30s, as they say.
Yeah.
So it would be a magical means of helping you fall asleep. I'm not sure if that would bring you a restful sleep or not, but I was going to do it anyway, and then Ty told me that I should talk to you about it first. So what are you thinking? Do you want to do this, or maybe
I haven't been having any issue falling to sleep because I'm exhausted. So as soon as my head hits the bed, I'm out. I fall asleep almost instantaneously. It's just when I am sleeping, I'm tormented by these nightmares. And it feels like I'm not even resting. I mean, my wounds are closing and my spells are recharging, but it's not the same. Like, it's just a very restless sleep. So I saw what you were doing with the Herringon, and I was wondering if you would want to, maybe observe me in my first cycle, if you wanted to stay here for like an hour and just detect my thoughts or just see if you can share any insights on these dreams. I don't really understand what's going on and why it's so hard.
Yeah, I just learned I can do that, so that sounds really fun to me.
Yeah, it didn't look like at first when you and Tide were doing at first when you and Tide were doing that for the Herringon, I was feeling kind of bad for her because I was like, what are they doing? Like, is this not like a private area? Are they hurting her? Are they
my rules around privacy,
manipulating or something? So
I feel like my rules around privacy are a bit different than you folks here on the material plane, and so I'm still just trying to learn the balance between what I know and what you all expect. I apologize if I crossed a line. I'm trying to learn here. But as far as hurting her, there was no pain. There was no altering of anything. Well, I did try to make her less horny at the end, but that was before I realized I could just leave.
Yeah. So that makes sense. Well, I mean,
As
if you're
one
willing
does.
to come into my dream, it should be the same as I had the last 3 nights. Like, I don't foresee it being any different. So
Don't
Absolutely.
transmit the
that would be
horniness.
great.
No smooth jazz.
Absolutely.
No smooth jazz.
Would you want anyone else here as well? I think I can maybe link with one other person to also have further insight.
This will be fine. I think that you're the one among us, and I feel comfortable with this setup. So
Absolutely. I will be back in an hour when you're unconscious.
yep, it won't be long. I'm taking off my boots, like,
Okay.
Cool.
and underneath the armor, you see there's this dingy travelers, seawater and sand everywhere. It's just horrible. Maybe I'm gonna go rinse off and get fed.
That would be wise. Maybe clean up.
Yeah, I figured that seawater would be a little irritating, so good to take a shower before you sleep.
Right.
Awesome.
Whatever that looks like in a fantasy tavern hotel. I don't know if I'd go dip in the and just rinse off that way, or
I was gonna say the
You've actually got a really modern
seaside
setup
resorts.
with like sprayers from every direction, sauna steam with eucalyptus in it. It's fancy.
They do not, especially after Verkus met old March who owns the place. No, you have two options, Eremos. There is a kind of their equivalent of kind of like a sauna. They have like a kind of little communal pool out back that they can heat with some underwater like metal pipes to kind of warm it up, or there's just like a bucket of clean water that does have some kind of like it's like a metal tub in the room, so you could pour some water in there and then heat under it if you wanted. But those are really your two options.
That would be Eremos's preference because, yeah, he's tired. He doesn't want to go down and up again, so he would just rinse off in that little tub and then tuck in.
Yeah, I mean, it's for based on this world's level of technology, it's a pretty nice bath. It's decent, you know.
Yeah.
Well, as you're doing that, and Kastan's going to prepare to come and dreamwalk with you in a little bit. At this point, the revelry has died down in the tavern. People have left to go to their homes. You guys all have your rooms. Verkus, are you waiting till like midnight, or do you want to do your thing now?
I am gonna wait until I'm sure there's almost no one in the tavern outside of someone who's watching the bar.
Okay.
Thing is this gonna be like?
I'm so excited. I don't know what it is.
Verkus is an exhibitionist, y'all.
Verkus, by the way, while you're
it's that like the cast off like
Just I'm standing in the middle of the tavern, just
I'm still
the subclass of club bard, you know, it's a
College of Boylesque.
yeah. So would you be waiting to make sure the coast is clear for whatever mystery romp is about to happen? Are
Yes.
you would you be down in the tavern, or would you be like up in your room waiting to hear if it?
I'll wait in the tavern.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, there's a few people hanging out and drinking, but it's mainly cleared out quite a bit. The Tabaxi, who's the niece of the owner, she's there kind of cleaning up the bar, and she looks at you and goes, hey, we really appreciate everything you've done, and that chowder you made tonight was incredible. I usually lock up here around midnight, you know, and kind of lock up the back room, but the tavern stays open so people can come and go from their rooms. In a small town like this, we don't really keep someone on staff overnight, but she says, I can give you a spare key if you want to get back in the room and make any food. I trust you.
Yeah, honestly, that would be wonderful. I'm oddly enough craving a grilled cheese sandwich.
She goes, oh, okay. Well, we have cheese and bread and butter,
Perfect.
so
crab.
and crab.
And some crab. Perfect. I appreciate it.
She gets a little kind of a little very plain iron key and hands it to you and goes, just I might forget about it, but if you could just return that to us whenever you check out. But in the meantime,
Wonderful.
feel free. We trust you.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
she goes back to cleaning the bar, and she's like, yeah, I'll head home in about half an hour. So
Okay.
as she's doing that, Kastan, did you need to do anything before you prep to go reunite with Eremos once he's asleep?
No.
No. Okay. Cool. And
I
then
think
Tide. Oh, go
I
ahead.
think I'll just send Olive to Tide,
Okay.
and let him know that
What you're doing?
I'll be with Eremos, kind of doing the detecting thoughts and stuff, just so that like someone knows to check on us in case something goes weird.
Okay, that makes sense. So Castan, we're going to kind of cut back and forth to this simultaneously. So I assume Tide goes to bed. Eremos takes a decent shower and gets ready for bed. And again, due to your level of exhaustion, you're able to fall asleep almost immediately.
Yeah.
So
Tide
Castan,
is going to leave a fine familiar cat up in the rafters of the tavern.
just kind of keeping watch so the cat can psychically wake you if anything amiss happens.
Let me know what's up. Like,
Or like whatever weird thing Veracruz is about to do.
Dooms. Yeah, exactly. So
it's just like on a beam, like
yeah, just chilling.
unnecessarily sleeping because it's a magic cat, but like
Right. Just kind of sleeping like
Wow.
Gandalf style with like one eye kind of open. Yeah.
yeah, plot in a plotting way as cats do. Like just
Excellent. Well, Veracruz, you see Castan go back upstairs. You don't know where he's going, but you see the last couple patrons kind of finishing off their last drinks, pulling some coins out of their pockets to pay. It looks like the tavern will probably be empty in about 15 minutes. So.
I have so Tuvusa is still kind of curled up at the fireplace,
Cool.
but eyes are open. And in my hand, I have some ash from a burned leaf of mistletoe and a sprig of spruce that I'm just slowly rubbing in my hand.
Interesting.
And I'm gonna wait. And I'm gonna wait until the last person leaves and cast Pass Without Trace.
Okay.
What were those components? A burnt leaf of mistletoe?
Ashes from a burned leaf of mistletoe and a sprig of spruce. So I don't know, but I imagine that as I was cooking, I randomly shouted out to you while you were doing like your druid craft, like I need
for
that
sure.
and that just to kind of
I would have given that to you without question. You know that.
just and quickly pocket it. Yeah, exactly. And then just keep doing it.
Mistletoe and crab, love it. Like
Yummy.
Yeah. And as that spell lasts for an hour.
Okay. Well, as you're very why am I drawing a blank on the word? Just unobtrusively, quietly, unnoticeably ritual casting this spell.
Clandestine.
Yes, clandestinely. No, you're good. As you're clandestinely just casting this spell sitting there, we'll cut back to you in a moment once the spell is complete. But Castan, you go back to Eremos' room. The door is unlocked. Eremos is sleeping. What do you do?
I'm not gonna be weird about this. I'm just gonna kneel at the head of his bed, or wherever I can get, and just my hands are like on either side of his head, not touching him, just like on either side. And I start channeling that detect thoughts.
Kitty Pryde, Days of Future Past to Hugh Jackman. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Eremos, where would your thoughts be as Castan is reading them?
Well, I've been having this recurring dream, right, with a black hole in space.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it would be there or if it would just be on like thoughts of the day and the unique sensation of being underwater and not drowning. Like,
I think it would start out as that, and then very quickly it would lead to the black hole. So, do you want me to kind of tell you what you're dreaming, and I'll kind of pull from your character's thoughts on things, and then we'll go from there as Castan's kind of witnessing all of this?
Yeah, that would be fine. But the Eremos' underlying like baseline feeling is scared and frustrated, and he's mainly scared that we did the wrong thing, pulling these artifacts out of the mound, and that he's going to be exhausted for the rest of his life.
Oh, that's a terrifying thought to entertain. Yeah,
that is, that's heavy.
Kastan, can you make a wisdom save as you're flooded with these very difficult emotions?
No. I'm gonna
No.
guidance myself. No, I can't guidance saves. Just kidding. No, guidance is ability checks and saving throws? No, resilience.
No, just really.
Never mind.
Resilience is safe.
Okay. 18.
Okay, so with an 18, you're like, "Ooh, this is heavy," but you're like, it's not. You're able
Whoa.
to separate kind of his feelings from yours, and you're like, "I'm okay." But you're witnessing all of
way to be
these.
emotionally evolved.
Yeah, and it's like in the dream. So for Kastan, what you're seeing, and Eremos, what you're experiencing, you're walking in the streets of Haven Hearth, but it's underwater. Dream logic, it's underwater,
Yeah.
and the people, a lot of them have eel or shark faces. And Eremos, this would be scary to you. Kastan, it wouldn't be quite as terrifying to you, but for Eremos, it'd be scary. And also above the water, there's kind of like a fireball that's not falling to the earth, it's kind of circling, like it's this looming threat. Where would Eremos go if he was in the city and he was scared about an impending doom to either himself or everyone? Where would Eremos go in dream underwater?
He would be right. Yeah, he would be running with his hood up out of the city through the southwest gate, like towards the mountains.
Okay.
The mountains that have the Durgar.
Okay.
Yeah.
As you're going through the city trying to keep your hood up, you keep feeling like invisible hands are trying to rip your hood back. What would you do?
I would just like lean as far forward and like run with my body bent at a 90-degree angle, like not even run blindly in the direction of the gate that I'm seeking, and not even watching for anything in front of me.
Okay.
Just so focused, like laser focused on keeping covert and quick.
Okay. Well, as you're doing this, Kastan, you see him moving desperately, and you feel these thoughts and this desperation. How do you react to that, Kastan?
I mean, it's a dream, so this fear and desperation, might be about many things. We just found out a lot of really big information about what we're meant to be doing, I guess, or like we just have this expectation of like the last of the star seers or star watchers or whatever they were, had like said something about us, and we don't know what that is yet. And so there might just be this pressure on him to, be at that kind of like lofty role, but seems to have this past he's brought up a couple times about how he was part of Haven Hearth's city guard or city watch and is no longer, and was part of the war, but seems to, not be fighting with any kind of group or faction or anything right now. So there's something there. So I don't know. There's a lot of things that it could mean. And so at this point, I'm just waiting to see where this leads. Because I don't know if I can really interact. And at this point, there's really not anything that I would want to do anyway.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. So as Kastan watches and Eremos struggles, suddenly Eremos, you see the city gate closing, and it looks like it's closing very fast, more so than it ever could in real life. It's closing rapidly, but you're close. What would you do? Would you try to push through it or try to find another way out of the city?
If it looks obvious that I'm not going to make it out, well, honestly, I'm not even looking ahead of me. I'm just so frantically pulling at my hood, like it's obscuring my vision, and I'm just doubled over sprinting. So I wouldn't even look. I would crash right into it.
Okay.
If it closes. Yeah.
It does, and you crash into it, and as you crash
I'm gonna face step him through it.
Okay.
Can I do that?
Yeah, you can. As you face step him through it, Eremos, you kind of feel like a jolt. Suddenly, you are standing back in the mound with the creepy cabin that you first encountered Andrathane Malkarian's visage in when he looked like Old Man Hirgon. And when you were in the mound and beheld that strange cabin in the very square whatever space and everything was just darkness around you, it's that same cabin and that same ethereally, like unnaturally square space, but around you is now hellfire and dragons in the distance fighting and ripping each other apart. So it's much more chaotic, but the cabin still stands there just like how you remember it. And Kastan, it looks the way you remember it too. So Eremos, your desperation to get out of the city is suddenly replaced by what would your character feel beholding this in his dream?
I'm torn between whether Eremos would picture wise elderly Hirgon on the porch or like a disappointed and hurrying Hirgon on the porch.
I think you would see
I think
both.
that's kind of
I think you would see both.
I could just see him like shaking his head like we're on thin ice with the prophecy, you know. But because I had a good interaction, I'm thinking maybe not. But I associate even though it was fake, I associate the cabin with what I originally thought to be elderly Hirgon.
Well, you see both versions of Hirgon standing on that porch, and one looks worried and disappointed and is shaking his head like, what have you done? And the other old man is sitting there looking comforting and welcoming, but also maybe deceptive. They're both just kind of looking at you. What would you do? In the dream logic, you feel like you have to choose one of them.
Yeah, so because of the warm vision that I had in the tavern, I will approach if I obviously know he's looking deceptive, like
not obviously, there's just a worry
I'm not that perceptive or insightful as a character, so I would approach the welcoming one and kind of, turn a shoulder towards the worried one.
Okay. As you do this, and Kastan, you're kind of following behind him, I'd imagine, the older welcoming Hirgon looks at Eremos and says, I hope it will be all right. You just need to, and suddenly he just vanishes, and now you're flying through space, both of you, just hurtling through stars and nebulas, and you see in the distance that the stars start to fade away, and there's just kind of this looming darkness. And Eremos, you recognize with a tinge of dread, the same way your dreams all end up lately, just approaching the event horizon of the black hole.
Yeah, and like I always do, I will just try to swim through space, like just frantically scrambling, trying to grab any sort of debris or any sort of traction that I can get to get away from the hole.
Yeah, just trying to claw away from the empty void. Kastan, you feel this visceral desperation and just frantic panicking. What do you do?
I mean, knowing what I know about stars and black holes, just as a Circle of Stars druid, both are dangerous in their own ways. So just because one emits light and one absorbs light doesn't mean that, one's better than the other. They're not both evil or good. They're neutral. So instead of fighting this force, I'm gonna Eremos, I encourage you to maybe give into it.
Based on Eremos's wisdom, as it is so far, he's been intent on staying away from it. So, Rex, how do you want to play this with Eremos?
Can I hear and have I been aware of Kastan with me this whole time in the dream?
I think you would vaguely feel like someone familiar and comforting is following you, but Kastan, if you choose to make yourself known now, you can really be like, Eremos, hear me. Like, do you want to really show yourself to him?
Yeah, I think I would. I don't even think he would even see any kind of vestige of me, but he would hear my voice because I have detect thoughts, I have telepathy, I can easily put my voice in his head. And just say, Eremos, you're fighting against a force that isn't inherently evil or good. It's just a force of nature. Those who fight against forces of nature often are found more exhausted, and I think that might explain why you're feeling the way you're feeling. I can't guarantee that nothing bad will happen, but I also think that you need to try something different because it seems all of your dreams are ending up this way.
It's going to consume me. Just look at what it's doing to all the debris. It's all gone. I'm gonna
nature,
lose
that's
my
just what
soul
it
if I go.
does.
But Androphane warned us that these artifacts would be slowly and perpetually sucking out the essence of who we are and our goodness. So that's what it's trying to do to me. It's trying to suck out my soul.
But isn't it doing so already with how exhausted you're becoming?
Yeah, I don't really have a choice, but I'm still
Maybe
afraid.
it exhausts. Maybe it doesn't drain you as bad if you don't fight against it. Maybe if you give into it, the drain is less.
Are you? So you're not fit. So your body isn't there, like struggling through space with me. It's just your voice, right?
Yeah, it's just my voice. I don't think I have a way to
All right.
bring my
that's fine.
astral
That's
self
fine.
into
That would be
this.
like an astral projection. Yeah, no worries. Make a persuasion check.
Okay. I'm gonna guidance myself on this. That's a 14.
What's the verdict, Rex?
So I'm like strongly considering it, but I'm also like, nah, because in my mind I had the DC set at 17, and then if he would have been there like in person in the dream and said like we'll go together, I was gonna lower it to 14. But since it's just his voice, and based on how scared I am, it's a really hard check.
Was it a saving throw?
No, it was just a persuasion
okay.
check.
Persuasion.
Oh, so your aura
Yeah.
doesn't help there.
Well, Rex, just quickly
No.
as a DM, I love that you set your own
Yeah.
DC for that based on where your character is at, and then we saw if it landed or not.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
hopefully in the future we can have other outcomes. But yeah,
For
Kastan,
sure. Yeah, I really respect Kastan, and I'm grateful for that. But I'm so scared.
Well, Eremos, as your fear overrides Kastan's words, Kastan, you feel that he cannot be persuaded from fighting this pull into the void, and you just get the sense that even if you keep talking, at least in this dream, his path is set in his mind.
Can I cast Friends?
In the dream, you can attempt to do so.
It would just give me advantage on the check, is all.
Could he resist it? Like, does he have a way to roll to resist it in the spell? I'd have to look at the verbiage of it.
I don't think Friends is a saving throw. It just happens.
No, it's for the duration. I have advantage on all charisma checks directed at one creature of my choice that isn't hostile toward me. When it ends, they know that I use
just
the
afraid.
magic. Yeah.
Ooh.
Rex, I will leave that to you. You feel Kastan's...
and Rex himself wants Kastan to succeed in persuading me to make the mechanically better game choice. But in the story, it's like I'm so afraid.
So friends,
let's try it again.
I rolled, and I got a natural 20.
Oh man!
All right.
For a total of 27.
So based on our friendliness, and this all of a sudden surge of respect and trust that are gone, he just relaxes and is sucked into the void.
I almost picture like Eremos do you suddenly, as you choose to not listen to Kastan's words, just suddenly have a bunch of images of your time with these new friends? It's only been a few weeks, but you've already bonded a lot, and then that just kind of causes you to relax,
I think I'm also just telepathically like emitting this like respect for him and appreciation for everything he's done, because it's been 2 weeks and I don't think that we've ever really had a moment to stop and say anything of these sorts, and so just like giving him that comfort, because I think that would provide him more comfort in this moment, would be great.
And specifically, Eremos used Kastan on like a higher tier of solidarity, because the other two are kind of like nefarious, like morally ambiguous characters. Kastan is like super naive and like always nice, always happy, always like. Eremos just feels like an extra special connection with him, so he just remembers all the times when he's just been like foolishly kind, foolishly giving. Like he just relates, like, because that's how Eremos wants to be, except for his trauma. So,
Well,
but
Eremos,
yeah,
as
I let
as
go.
you relax and start drifting towards the void, and Kastan goes with you, you do just feel a sense of like a weight lifting off your entire body, and just you kind of feel like just a nice tingle caressing your skin as you just kind of suddenly feel a massive weight lifted off you, and just a sense of ease and just like relaxation, like in your body and your soul.
I don't feel any pain or any like, nothing being pulled apart or anything in the void. I just
No, it's just
interest.
it just kind of feels like with
Those
that,
sensory deprivation pods.
yeah, where it's almost like
Yeah.
you're relaxing and feeling like almost massaged by this, but you're like if it's a little too much, it might like strip something away from you potentially. So there's a tiny hint of danger,
Yeah.
but overall it's very nice
Yeah.
compared to what you've been going through. So
Right. Space swimming frantically all night. Yeah,
yes.
that's
So
great.
it feels
That's
like a
great.
very relieving change for sure.
Yeah.
Like you're finally just letting something out that was trying to get out for a long time.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, so your
Nice sleep
long rest has been
in the dark.
Kastan, you feel him just
Yep.
kind of go out of the REM cycle into just a deep, satisfying, good sleep.
Yeah, I disconnect mentally. Leave
Yeah.
him, leave him with really relaxing forest smells, and leave.
Delightful. Well, Eremos, you get the best night of sleep that you've had in a long time,
Ridiculous.
and
Heck yeah.
you leave the dream state, and you're. I mean, I assume Kastan would feel good about what he's done for sure.
I think Kastan, for the first time in his entire life, goes and sleeps a full 8 hours.
Love it. Love it. Well, after that very wholesome dream walking experience, down in the bar, something potentially less wholesome is going to go on with Verkus here, as Verkus successfully casts Pass Without a Trace on himself.
I will say one thing that I find very funny is that it's both the Eladrin that are getting into nighttime shenanigans.
Yeah, it's true. Well,
All right.
as this veil of shadows and silence radiate from you, masking you from detection, you cannot be tracked except by magical means. So, what would you like to do, Verkus?
I'm gonna stealthily make my way towards the kitchen.
You do so. There's no one to detect you. The Tabaxi niece has locked up. You have a key, so you can.
Yeah, I had been playing with the thieves' tools I had recently acquired. I was going to use them, but instead I just used the key, open it, and look about. I would love to look for Sansa's cookbook. Recipe book.
Oh, I will need an investigation check from you. The DC is incredibly low because they are not well hidden if they exist.
12.
12. Okay, so
That's
give me
pretty good.
1 second.
I get a -1 to investigation.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's what I was thinking. For our group, 12's pretty good.
So, you look around the kitchen and you find things that you were familiar with during your time working in there tonight to make such a delicious meal. You're looking.
I also get the stuff out for an actual grilled cheese sandwich because after saying it, he's like, that actually kind of sounds nice.
Yes, as you're prepping and looking around, it doesn't take you very long to figure out that there is like a small little. It's like a little like broom closet that he mentioned, and you never had cause to go in there during your time in the back room this evening. But now, as you're investigating, looking for Zanza's things, you do go in this broom closet and see that it does have a broom, and it is rather small, but it also has a little desk and like a very like tattered old little couch. It looks like this is like his lounge area when he's not actively cooking.
So he's in
And
here a lot.
yeah, and there's like 3 books in there. There's one that looks like a kid's fairy tale book that you might have heard of in Havenhearth. And then there is one that is it's like a you've never heard of it, but based on the cover artwork, it looks like a really awful, cringy, like romance novel.
Oh,
That's like written for like people with really low reading ability. Like just the genre you would have seen in Haven Hearth, where it's like, yeah, just very pulpy, poor quality.
Verkus is just staring at it and like will not touch that with a 10-foot pole, but is sure the pages are probably stuck together.
Yes. Correct. And then the third book, which is kind of off to the side, and there's a little bit of actually there's a pretty thick layer of dust on this third book.
Of
You would
course
have
there is.
to investigate to see what it is further.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm-
you wouldn't have to roll for it. You would just have to choose to
Yeah.
go and like brush the dust off.
I'm gonna see if I have shenanigans.
Do you have shenanigans?
I do, but I'm gonna just brush off the dust.
Okay.
Or not fully brush it off, but like pick it up and like trying to be as careful as possible and open it.
Well, as you brush the dust off, you see the cover. It is a very crude looking drawing of a hand dropping some pieces of maybe bread or meat into a stewing cauldron, and it says, "How to cook and to live righteously" is the title, and there is no author listed.
Live righteously.
And there is no author listed.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna thumb through this really quick. I'm intrigued by living righteously.
Mm-hmm. So, you do see early on that it says from the hilltop temple in Gilnoth. It does say that on a couple different pages. So you know that this comes from the city of Gilnoth, which is up further north, but not super far from this area of Haven Hearth and everything. You would know that Gilnoth is a theocracy and that people there do practice Balvishi worship. So actually, let me drop a really quick description into the chat for you here, just so you have it. There we go. There's Gilnoth's description. So the book you're looking through, it is technically a cookbook, but I use that term very loosely. It has a few recipes, but looking at this, you're like, is this for like someone who has no supplies or just zero knowledge of cooking? Like, it's very much there's a few mentions of food, but most of it is like lots of weird fables about someone who ate something they weren't supposed to and then were cursed, or people giving away their food to the poor and being blessed, like lots of very just basic fables. So this seems more like a religious text than an actual cookbook, but there is just a weird food theme running through it. So
do I know about the Balvishi?
Yes, so you would have heard about it. It's not super common in Haven Hearth, so you wouldn't be like an expert on it by any means, but let me pull up my description to make sure I'm being consistent here. So, Balvishi worship is the worship of the Balvishi, which tends to be regimented and dutiful worship of these mythic legendary creatures called Balvishi. They are celestial creatures. A lot of times they're depicted as hands or animal paws with translucent wings that roam the heavens. They're told through legend to be the hands that crafted the entire world. In thanks for their creation and protection from the ancient horrors of the voids between stars, those who believe the Balvishi mythos, which is their main holy text, pray to Balvishi at least twice daily when the sun is up and when it is night. They make offerings and burn incense a lot. They also, on the first day of each new month, the more fervent worshippers will all use their hands in addition to their feet to move, which is a bit physically taxing and awkward for others to behold. But the most exalted and pious of them, on this first day of their tradition, are able to walk on their hands all day, not even using their feet. Most Balvishi worshippers live in and around Gilnoth, but they can be found in small numbers throughout other settlements in the continent.
The first thought that Verkus has is, I hope he washed his hands.
That's a very logical thought. And, now that you think back, you're like, I never really looked at his hands, and I'm concerned.
Glad I handled most of the cooking. So Verkus, so I'm gonna go ahead and taking this book, I'm gonna fully just clean it off, make it look very pristine.
Nice.
I'm going to open it up and I'm going to quickly scribe out several actually good recipes.
Thankfully, based on just the style of writing in this book, there are lots of spaces in between the words.
So I'm
so
actually going to put it in sheets of paper, loose sheets of
and put
paper,
them in. Okay,
and kind of slide them in
nice.
in a way that they won't fall out.
Cool.
I'm going to then set it right, like front and center, an easy place to find, on the what seems to be the most used stool that he uses. I'm going to place it right in front of there, and using find some salt or some flour.
Yes.
I'm going to quickly design a hand with wings pointing at the book.
You feel very confident this is gonna grab his interest hard.
And so I'll say I add six like seafood based recipes.
Nice.
And a grilled cheese sandwich recipe. Make myself a grilled cheese sandwich really quick after that. And kind of look about, nod to myself, go back to close the broom closet. And gonna leave a pouch of salt next to the like within the palm of the hand that I made out of the flour.
The winged hand giving him salt.
Yes. And then I'm gonna sneak back out with my grilled cheese sandwich, and yeah.
Can you roll me a D4 for that? If it's a 1 or a 2, it will be an excellent sandwich. If it's a 3 or a 4, it will be just a mind-blowingly delicious, amazing sandwich.
That is a options. 4.
Oh, this is like the best part after that. You're like, these people don't know how to cook, but whatever they're getting, their local cheese is just incredible.
They got good cheese.
They got great cheese. And the way
it's
you
Gouda.
heated it to perfection, it's just
it's Gouda.
Delightful. Are there any other nighttime shenanigans you have planned, or was that?
That was it. That was literally it. Like, you guys,
I love the build up to that.
Yeah, everyone's like, "Oh, how dirty is this gonna be?" It's like, I'm literally giving this dude recipes, like,
just trying to teach people how to cook, man.
Yeah, I just want them to have better food, man. Like,
just can't stand how much their palates are being.
No,
you already know like
deprived.
what vegetables and whatnot are available in that farm that I created, so like you have access to whatever you need.
I know what they've got.
It's true. Oh, okay, so you guys all get a long rest in, and we go to the next morning. You guys wake up. It is a lovely day outside. Nice cool morning with a bit of a breeze, but still very nice weather. The tabaxi who works at the bar, she is downstairs making a breakfast. There's some eggs, lots of vegetables, potatoes, bread, cheese. Yeah,
smell of seasoning.
Yes, smell of seasoning and much garnish.
I want to get up earlier, and I want to go check on that project to see if they worked on it overnight.
Yes, you can. As you go over there, all of you would see Tide step out in the morning. Do any of you want to inquire about that or no?
I like wake up a little bit earlier than usual for it. So like if they hear me like go downstairs, like I don't do it like while we're all downstairs.
Oh, okay.
No, Veracus is gonna sleep until a little later just because he stayed up pretty late.
Well, yeah, then Tide, you would go and see that they are actually just putting the finishing touches on. It is just about ready. I'll wait to describe it till everyone can see it, but I think it looks, you like it. It's good.
Dope. I thank everyone there for all the work they did and how quickly they were able to fix something up.
They're all very happy to help you guys out after everything you've done. So they're all very grateful, and they can't wait to see a certain person's reaction to it. So Tide, you see that like by the time you were to if you were to go back to the tavern, get people and bring them to it, it would be complete. So
I'll say something over breakfast.
Cool.
So I like probably walk back in while everyone's already sat down.
Sweet. You guys it's a buffet style breakfast. You can eat as much as you'd like. So
How is it?
So Zanza, Zanza hasn't come in to cook it yet. It was just kind of the Tabaxi kind of threw it together, but she looks at you and says like, "Hey, I know it was pretty busy last night. I mean, the whole town was here, but I tried to pay attention to what you were doing. I hope this breakfast is, it's not going to be as good as the chowder you made, but I hope it's decent." And you're looking and you're like, "This is not bad. Better. It's probably the best meal you've had that you haven't made." Yeah. It's the best meal you've had there that you haven't made.
Okay. I look at her and I just say, well, I think that you should take over for a certain gnomish friend.
Wow, really? I've always wanted to kind of explore more culinary pursuits, and maybe we could hire someone else to, work behind the bar and help serve customers and take in coin and payment. But I kind of would like to work in the kitchen, and I know he's talked about retiring and traveling the world. He's talked about that quite a bit, so I don't know. Maybe he's always wanted to go to Gilnoth. I don't know why.
Unfortunately, don't worry about that.
Okay.
But give me a bit and I can write you up a few recipes.
Oh, I love that. Thank you.
Yeah. And
that's so exciting.
As I'm eating, I'll have a quill and paper and just start scribing down a good handful of recipes.
Yeah, and now that you know what they have locally in terms of all the resources, especially with the farm, you can think of probably at least a dozen recipes, if not more, off the top of your head. So
yeah, and they're going to be different from the 6 I wrote for Sansa.
Cool, sweet.
Real quick, sorry, before I came back, how many people do you think were like working there when I got there?
5.
5. I give them each 2 gold pieces.
Oh, they all thank. 2 of them refuse and say, no, this is the least we can do. But the other 3 take it and say, thank you very much. So you end up spending 6 gold.
Okay.
So you guys are enjoying breakfast, and
it smells fantastic in here. Verkus, were you making food?
Oh no,
you were making food last night.
Mm-hmm.
It is a day of woe.
Oh.
Like whoa? Like I mean, yeah, the food's
we
pretty
we are under the horns of Besair.
Look rested but sad.
What's the horns of Besair?
That is appropriate. The horns of Besair, a constellation we are currently under, causes us to have less ideal outcomes in social interactions.
Us or you?
Well, for those who are affected.
Okay. That's not
I am afflicted this day. It is a day of woe.
Maybe it's a day of not talking to people.
You hear in your head, okay.
Very sad,
He goes and just like grabs a little bit of breakfast and sits down and is just like grinning at it.
Trips on his way back.
I'll like put my hand on his shoulder. I just say, you can always talk to me.
Eremos, how are you feeling this morning?
Eremos would be sleeping in, like, just savoring the first good night's sleep he's had in over a week, and then he would come downstairs, like, excited like a kid on Christmas morning, singing like about the favor of the Platinum Dragon, the wonderful wisdom of Kastan, and his enthusiasm is restored.
Oh. Well, really quick, with the armor where we landed on it, does Eremos need to make a roll since he chose not to take a level of exhaustion?
Let me see.
Yeah.
Immediately after finishing a long rest, the wearer must either expand half of their remaining hit dice to the armor, rounded up. So what are we, level 7?
So 4.
So you give up 4. or instead take 1 level of exhaustion.
Cool.
Okay.
So he has less hit dice, but he's feeling great this morning, not exhausted. So
And we have so many other ways to heal
I
you if
imagine-
need be.
Yeah. And I imagine that that like losing part of my hit dice would mean my body doesn't feel like quite as vigorous. Like I have like maybe less
less
I don't
stamina.
know, less fortitude. Yeah, less stamina maybe. So
Maybe
I
you're
would
not
feel like
quite
a little
as, like,
bit
maybe you have a little less color in your face.
right. Like I look a little bit more sickly, but
Your back is starting to hurt in ways that it never used to hurt before.
You're noticing your knees more.
Very aware of your knees.
Suddenly you're very, very sensitive to sleeping in the wrong position. Whatever that means.
That hits too close to home.
Right? It's like, what happened? I used to go to sleep in bathtubs and wake up
I know.
fine.
So refreshed, ready to keep drinking.
Ready to attack the day. Anyway.
Well, so as you guys are enjoying breakfast, Ty, do you have anything you want to share with everyone?
Hermos, you look fit. You look well. You look well rested. How was your night?
Oh, I feel so much better. I had a dream visitor, and I look over at Kasana and offer him a fist bump, and I
Wow.
think we got it sorted out.
Cool.
I'm
Well,
glad to hear.
yeah, you look much better. You look like you were, like you said, you were able to rest for the first time in a while. I have a surprise for you, for everybody, I guess. But if you'd like to join me, I'd like to show that to you.
Okay, absolutely. Where are we going?
Where are we going?
It is in the town square near where the explosion happened a couple days ago. Where they're rebuilding. Yes.
I've got Olive following me as I follow them. She's tied to a string, and she's like paragliding as I just dust her up with druid craft.
She's like a little kite, like a little kite just floating behind you.
And the same cap from last night is on my shoulder. No owl yet.
Cool.
Just imagine your familiar like shape shifting instead of disappearing and reappearing.
Yeah, just more. It just comes down and wings become paws.
Yep,
I love it.
Exactly.
And it changed like as if it was a water balloon. It like changes form and then solidifies into like the being it's supposed to be.
I like that. That's cool. Like it almost gets liquid form and then goes to.
Yeah,
like Well, as you guys are walking through the town in the early morning, it's a very pleasant morning, very beautiful, nice little breeze going, and people are walking through the town. They're all still happy and cheery from last night. They all nod at you as you go by, but as you get closer and closer to the spot where there was that tragic bombing a couple days ago, you see that a lot of work's been done already. The town's really coming together and rebuilding stuff. Yes. But there is a new statue in the center of the street that was not there when you guys went on your adventure in the reefs. Eremos, something about this statue just really resonates with you. It looks just comforting, even though you still need to get closer just to see exactly who it's a statue of. But just something about it just makes you feel at home and you feel eager to go look at it more.
I skip.
Oh, yeah. Well, as you skip over and get closer.
I skip it eagerly. Yeah, you hear the armor just ching, ching, ching. Gleefully, yeah.
As you get closer to Eremos, you see that this is a statue about 7 feet tall. There is kind of a little base to it that doesn't have any plaque or inscription on it, but the statue depicts an old man, a human man, in kind of cheap-looking robes, but on his shoulders are 7 canaries, and if you look closely in his eyes, they are, instead of irises, they are dragons flying with majestic wings. And you recognize this as a depiction of the god Bahamut walking amongst mortals, dressed as an old man, helping others. And you do notice down at the bottom there is a very small inscription that says, "To the 4 friends of Dinlower." And that's what it says.
Wow, I just absolutely just fall, sag to my knees, and start crying.
The 4
Like,
buttery
here's the
tears.
choice. Like, it's like,
No.
yeah, absolutely.
It's the magical inscription behind the play.
Absolute marvel. Yeah.
So we all catch up as Eremos is like Don like on his knees crying in front of it. Like, oh, you like it.
I have not seen this likeness of him in many moons, and it stirs my soul. I feel closer than I have in a long time. I say, who put this here? I look around for like a mason or someone to scoop up and hug them and break one of their ribs.
You do notice a group of like,
of course, yeah.
Yeah,
You
do
do
I see
notice
the
a group
people
of-
who did it?
yeah, 5 townspeople are kind of standing off to the side, like looking all eager, like waiting to see your reaction to it, and they look really happy to see how much it moves you.
They were working on it all day and night yesterday.
Oh, well, I just wait. You said they're 5. What kind of people? Sorry, you cut out a little bit. Are they humanoids or are they like gnomes or what are they?
Oh yeah, there's some of the townspeople. You recognize the Goliath woman who worked with Verkus to make the bandoliers. And then there's 4 other townspeople. 1 human, a dwarf, and a tabaxi man. Yeah, so 5 people.
I would have helped out
Nice.
by just decorating it with a lot of plants.
Yeah. Just
I
spring
will
those up
go
all
to
around it.
the Goliath that I recognize from before and just clasp her in like a large person forearm handshake and just be like, "Oh, thank you so much. This is beyond what we deserve, and this is a truly marvelous addition to this city square."
Absolutely. Just as you 4 have been an absolutely marvelous addition to our city. She firmly shakes your hand back in a very, very strong warrior moment of connection. You know.
Then I turn to just the open air and I give like a mini homily about Bahamut and about his goodness and about why I'm able to do what I'm able to do only by his grace.
Everyone kind of listens respectfully, and they just all nod, like they're just really happy to see how moved you are by it. You know.
Right.
Awesome.
And then I will say, what did it cost to make this? And I'll start reaching into my purse and say, let me help.
Well, they all immediately are like, no. Like this was one of our gifts to you, between the farm and just helping rid us of that menace. Orville, like you have done such a help, and after last night, we realized you saved our food source and the water from all those giant sea monsters. We had no idea were there. Like, you guys have done us a huge benefit. So this nothing.
Giant sea monsters.
You have helped us immensely. No need for compensation.
Okay. Well, this has been an absolute marvel.
As Eremos marvels at the statue, and everyone just feels really good about this, the 4 of you do notice, with your passive perceptions, a halfling with a peg leg start ambling over towards the statue from the opposite side, kind of on the beach side of town. This is not a townsperson you recognize from last night. And this peg-legged halfling who's kind of ambling up has a rather illustrious hat on with a big feather coming out of it. And behind her is a large turtle and a very buff-looking half-orc man. And as these 3 start wandering kind of close to the statue, one of the Goliath, who you all know, kind of raises a hand and goes, "Ah, Captain Mirabella, glad to see you've docked." And that is where we will end for next session.